So here's a quick video on a little bit of orchestrating I did for this new score that I'm working on for a documentary on Dinorwic Quarry, which is in North Wales. It's a little bit of a poetic documentary in a kind of Werner Herzog style. It's really amazing footage of the quarry, North Wales, and I've gone to this method of basically I improvise at the piano and I end up with all my data. So I'm at bar 53 currently. This is just old Sonar software, and you can see all of my improvisation is there is actually 40 minutes of data. This is the way I like to work in this day and age of AI, where things can be done so quickly. I find I can sit at the piano now and just kind of improvise away and then use that as a basic sort of start for my composition. So what I love about this process is this is just data at the moment. You could have it in its rawest form in piano. I tend to mix piano and strings, but in this instance I've put choir and organ because I thought, well, that's kind of the style that we're going for. So this is basically what I start with. This is one little idea, one section. So you can see it's very chordal. There's a mistake there, you could hear that dissonance coming through. Yeah, it's very chordal, and what you can do with that is is kind of infinite in a sense, that the possibilities of it. This is the amazing thing with music, you can slow that down, you could add percussion, you can change all the different instruments could play for each line. So I could decide, well, I'll have oboe here, oh, I'll have flute coming in here, oh no, I'll do strings here, oh no, I'm going to add, I'll change it for choir, oh, why don't I double it up an octave, I'll bring some percussion in here, I'll bring some basically the possibilities are just endless. I won't say infinite because I'm sure it isn't, but the calculations and possibilities for music are unbelievable. That's why when we hear something that somebody's composed, we tune into what they've composed and we think, oh, that's quite simple what they've done. But what you don't realise is that that's one unique, specific presentation of that music. Change any instruments and it changes the whole sound and the whole sort of structure. You can change the piece, you can add more instruments in, blah blah blah. I won't go into it. So you've heard the basic data, what I'll call data. So what I've done in MuseScore now, I love MuseScore, so I could have just done so many different versions of this, and I might still. I mean, if the director of the movie says, I don't really want that kind of triumphant music, it's no good, and if he doesn't have enough music out of 40 minutes, then I might say, well, I'll go back into these passages and I'll rewrite them just for strings and organ or something, or choir, and slow it down. So I'll go through what I've done for this one. I decided, because I'd had quite a lot of choir and organ previously, I decided this sounded really good for a fanfare. I think it's got that kind of chordal, kind of motif sounding element to it, and I thought, right, I'm going to go full brass because I love all these fanfares. So I went horn 1 and 2, trumpet 1 and 2, trombone 1 and 2, and a bass trombone. Now the only reason I went bass trombone over the tuba, I tend to orchestrate similar to sort of what John Williams does, or classical composers, is that the decrescendos and the crescendos don't work for some reason on the tuba. Maybe it's because it's an older version. I can't remember if the tuba is from version 3 or whether it's part of this new the sound fonts, the MuseScore, I can't remember what they're called now, Muse Sounds. But anyway, everything was doing a decrescendo before, but the tuba was staying at the same volume and it was standing out like a sore thumb. So I changed it for bass trombone, and now you can hear they're doing everything together. So all my brasses there. I added lots of different articulations. I've really worked on the articulations, putting in, accent staccatos. I wanted that kind of sound. I had to decide, does that want to just hold for a bit longer? So I put a dotted crotchet on there instead of the crotchet. All of these are little elements. You can see I just tied through a note there just to give it a little bit longer. I could have done it as a dotted crotchet, I suppose, but it doesn't really matter. I did it for a dotted crotchet on the first one, then tied it through. Well, it was 2.5, that one, sorry. So that was different. I put timps in. The first time I decided to bring in the piatti, the cymbal crash. So I brought in the cymbal crash and I put suspended cymbals in here. There's my cymbal crash as well. Timps coming in on the bass note here. Now the thing about MuseScore is, which it doesn't do with the timps, which is a bit of a shame, I'll just zoom in on the timps here, is that if you put an accent on a roll, which I've used as a tremolo here rather than a trill, I don't know if the trills work, but the tremolos work anyway. If you just put an accent on the first note, it won't do it on a tremolo. It won't do it. So you have to kind of fool the software. You have to put one note. I've done it as a quaver, as an accent, as a dotted accent in this instance, accented staccato, and then the roll after it, the tremolo after it, and then it works. It gives you a kind of boom, and then it goes into the tremolo. I don't think I've actually tried trills on that, but I don't think they'd work. I think traditionally you write in trills on. I'll have to check that actually. I've got quite a few skills. It's one of those things you tend to forget, but in this instance, I've just decided to just you just do what works and what sounds good. Okay. Well, there's something I wasn't planning on having to do while doing this little video. I don't have to do it, but I've just noticed now that I haven't got the full score in there, so I'll do a quick tutorial on that. To get the full score, and now it's extended that, so something strange is happening. I'm not sure what's happening. I've got it on notes now, and for some reason it's doing some sort of crazy things. There are a few gremlins. Oh, I think I know what I did. Well, I'll find out if there's an extra note in there, but something's definitely changed there on the. It's interesting that because it was actually full screen before, I'm pretty sure. Just open that out a bit, yeah. It's really lost a lot there. Something's not right there. I don't know. I think sometimes there's a few gremlins in. It's a fantastic software. The 3. Everything seems to have moved a bit. Anyway, I'll double check that. So I'm just going to go back now. Go back to what we were talking about. And yeah, and I've done strings now. The one. So everything's basically just sort of imitating the same sort of rhythm with their own fashion. And then on the repeat here of this little theme, I just bring in higher strings, an octave higher to the horns and the trumpets. And we've got all these really nice harmonies coming through. Trumpet 1 and horn 1 I gave the melody to. Of course that's incredibly loud now. So there's the horn there, and I put the trumpets doing the same, doubling up. And then I put the harmonies then, the third lower on the horns. and the same with the trumpets. And then obviously I did the harmonies underneath for the trombones, just divided them into the chords. B minor. And yeah, you do occasionally get that stuttering on the audio, and I've got 16 gigabyte of RAM and 3 gigahertz processor, dual core, so you know, it's just about coping. But anyway, I don't get too technical. So that music, let's have another quick listen. Sort of, I've gone on a little bit. I'll do this little opening bit. Here it's quite slow as well. That very simple chordal kind of idea there became this, which I'm very pleased with. So there you go. So that's an example of how you can change data into a number of different orchestrations, different presentations. This is just one. I did go through a few of them, and it's an interesting process. So if you are good at playing the piano, I'm helping a few little budding composers here because it's taken me years and years to discover this method. If you're good at playing the piano and you're struggling to, and you want to compose music, but you struggle, you know, when you've got a blank page and you think, and you're writing it out or trying to come up with an idea or put a note here, and then what do I add to that? How do I build it? Bit of advice: sit down at the piano, improvise at the piano, get your piano roll data. Don't think too much about it at this stage, and go into each section, listen to each section, and decide, what can I do with that? And try different instruments and see what works and what doesn't. But it's a great starting point. And if it doesn't work very good the first time, change the instruments, change the dynamics, bring in swells, put some percussion in. It's amazing how that little bit of music there, data I call it, can be presented in so many different ways. Okay, and I'm not talking about doing the generic modern sort of film music score. This is just doing your own style of music that's not imitating or copying you know, a particular trend or fashion that's currently. So I know a lot of people want to do that, which is a shame. I suggest if you want to do that, just put 4 chords constantly going backwards and forwards and just change them. That's the way to do that. Quite boring if you ask me, but I find it fascinating when music changes and goes into a whole new sort of area, unexpected. It's not predictable. So yeah, there's a little bit of tutorial this morning.